Shalom, people. This is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video. And want to talk to you today about can Yah heal through medication? Can Yah heal through medication? I want to start this off with the scripture coming out of 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, starting at verse 1. So now, concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Then we're going to skip down to verse 4. Now there are the diversity of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are differences of administration, but the same Master. There are diversities of operations, but it's the same Elohim which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, and to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit. And this is the verse I want you to key in on. To another faith by the same Spirit. To another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. And let's go down to verse 11. So, but all these worketh that one and the self-same Spirit, divide into every man severally as he will. So in the body of Yeshua, there are those that have the gift of healing amongst us. Not a preacher, not a prophet, it could be you. It doesn't say that they have a position, but he says some. Now we all can pray for Yah to heal somebody. It's the self-same Spirit that's going to heal them whether you got the gift of healing or not. But notice he said these are gifts of the Spirit. And he said he give it to each man to profit for himself or for the Spirit. Meaning the Spirit is for his good that they're going to be healed. Not for your good, not to elevate you. Therefore, this makes sense why everyone that came in contact with Yeshua was not healed. Even though he had the fullness of the Spirit without measure. There was no measure of the Spirit that Yeshua had. It was given to him limitlessly. But everyone that he came into, he did not heal them. There was a time when he went back to his hometown, and the Bible said that he could not heal a lot of them because they knew who he was. It said he was only able to heal a few sick folk. It sounded like he might have went back and had a couple of people that had maybe some sniffles or maybe some small little sniffles or whatever, and then he was able to deal with that. But for a lot of people, he was not able to heal them. Some maybe because of the lack of faith, and some because if the Spirit deemed that it was necessary for them to be healed, they would be healed. And so we have today in our assemblies and in some of the churches, because this message is to all Hebrews, whether you're in a camp, assembly, or a church, that a lot of you are in these places and you believe Yah can heal. You believe what the Bible says, but it seems like your faith is not following, and a lot of you are on medication. A lot of you have family members, loved ones that are really, really close to you that you pray for. They know you pray for, you fasted for them, but none of them are, quote unquote, delivered from the medication, as you would say. I myself have loved ones that I'm praying that Yah would, quote unquote, totally healed and where they can come off the medication. But I want to ask a question today. Can the healing that they need be given through the medication, even if it's not what you or I would consider to be a permanent healing? And indeed, is any healing that you even would get miraculously through people praying for you, is that gonna prevent you from getting further sickness in your body? Meaning, if you had a kidney disease and someone prayed for you and you was healed, will that praying for your kidney and subsequent healing keep you from getting heart problems later on? I don't think so. So that leads me to believe that the healing through the Spirit is a lot of times, or was a lot of times back then, for a sign to people when a person spoke that indeed Yah was with them. Now, the medicines that they had back then were natural medicines coming from the leaves and herbs and trees and everything. You can see that in Ezekiel 47 verse 12, where it talks about the trees being meat and the leaves being therefore for medicine. You can see that in Revelations, the 22nd chapter, verse 1 and 2, where it talks about the river of life proceeding out of the throne, and how the leaves again were for the healing of the nations. And so even in the millennial, it was seen that even though divine healing will be probably through people being able to come up and pray for you, or you being able to come to Yeshua himself and him healing you, that there still will be healing through another agent, which is the leaves. Now, we know that natural medicine stopped being practiced in the late early 1900s, when they started all these medical societies, and indeed the art of the apocrypha with the leaves, except for probably and even amongst a lot of black people, was starting to be lost in the mingling and mixing of different cultures and races and things like that, was bringing up new diseases and things that could not be taken care of through what they call to be traditional medicine. And therein comes, the modern, lead us to the modern day pharmacy. And also the diets that we as black people had started catching up with us, and some of the meats and things that we was eating, even though we still had a pretty decent diet, but we had a lot of things that we were eating that we shouldn't been eating: pork and shellfish and shrimp, and then the alcohol consumption, and then also cigarettes and all these other things that was starting to catch up with us as black people. And that was shown in the late 60s, early 70s and 80s, 90s, 2000s, and the explosion of diabetes amongst us. You could see it was like, and there's no doubt there was Tuskegee experiments going on. I know that, and there was things being released into the water in our communities. There was bio attacks against us. There's no doubt about it. But one of the main way that they got us and we got ourselves is through the diet, and it caused a lot of us to have to get on their medication. And although we are strong believers in the healing of Yeshua, I believe that the inability of our people to break away from that poor diet is, I believe, one of the reasons why you don't see that a lot of that healing in our people like it should be, because Yah gave us a certain diet that we were supposed to have, where we wouldn't even get sick, where we would need the divine healing. That the divine healing would come in play so that unbelievers would see the power of Yah and believe that the word was confirmed through the healing, but not as a regimen for us to be healed, even though we continued on in a diet filled with so much junk. Can you see what I'm saying? That if you had lung cancer and you went up and Yah healed through a certain person, you got healing through that you would go back to smoking, what kind of glory would that give Yah if you went back and did that? And I just see the multiplying of all this sickness among us, but this increasing people getting in lines to be healed and throwing money at preachers and prophets and apostles, and the preachers and apostles that you throwing at, they overweight and on medication and everything. They got family members that's going in to get operations and on all kinds of medicine. And it just seemed like, to me, I was like, something is wrong here. And the thought came to my mind that if you not going to do what it takes to, I believe, put yourself in a position for Yah to get glory through your life. I'm not talking about becoming a vegan or anything like that. But that if you find out what is the best for this temple, because he said if you don't take care of the temple, he said Yah is going to destroy you and the temple. And I don't think our people took that scripture seriously. One of the things that he said was we were stiff-necked. And indeed, when a lot of people found out different things about the pork and the shellfish and everything, people would come out and say statements like, you got to die something. When they found out, about the strong drink and all that, he is not why. People say, well, we all have our vices. And when the drugs came out, the marijuana and everything, people said, you're infringing on my personal space. And then they wanted to use that scripture in Ezekiel and Revelation. Said, well, it's a leaf from the tree. But did he say smoke it? You see all these kind of things that are impediments to when we come and ask Yah to heal us or get on our knees. And yeah, he might even do it, but it's not going to be permanent. And indeed, as long as you're in this body of corruption, nothing is going to be permanent in that sense. But I believe that one of the reasons why a lot of us are on the medications and can't come out is because of the diet. So I would say that if you're not committed to making sure that your temple is taken care of, don't you come off of that medication. Do not come off of that medication. I believe if you're not willing to do what Yah says according to his diet, it's best for you to stick with what you're doing and go on. Be who you're going to be. But don't tempt Yah. Don't tempt Yah, come off the medication, keep eating what you're going to eat, and then go up and ask to be healed. Because something is going to happen to you. I'm telling you that right now. I've never, in the time that I've been ministering to people, I never have laid hands on somebody for their healing and said, now go believe God, go home and empty out your medicine cabinet. I never do that, because you just don't know how people are living at their home, and you tell them to do that, and they, first of all, that's got to be the spirit that lead them according to their faith if they do that. And one of the things you find that a lot of times when Yeshua healed people, he would tell them to go present yourself to the priest. I'm not one of these ones that believe, I ain't got to get confirmation from the doctor if I'm being healed. I don't believe that. Even Yeshua told the 10 lepers, he said, go show yourself to the priest, because he knew that they couldn't go back amongst the people if they hadn't been cleared by the priest. And he knew that his healing was straight, so he didn't have to second guess. So I would say that to any of you that are still going up for prayer and all these things. You say, I believe God, I believe y'all, I believe him, he got it. That you say, well, I ain't going back to the doctor to get that checked. That's not showing a lack of faith. That's when that doctor sees that, that'd be a testimony to him or her. That where did the sickness go? But then if y'all do it, don't turn right back around and go do the same thing that got you in that place first. Because what did Yeshua say to the woman caught in adultery? He said, go and sin no more, at least a worse thing happened to you. That's the worst thing you can do, is if y'all does it and you just decide, I'm going to keep on living my life the same way that led me to get to this way that I am. Don't do it. Clean up your temple. Get your temple. He said, I remember my lessons a couple months ago when I talked about vessels of honor. He wants us to start becoming vessels of honor, starting with our diet. And once we do that, then if there are repairs that need to be done to this temple, meaning divine healing, Yah will do the divine healing that he needs to do. Now, does we have to be totally clean up for him to do it? No, we don't. But what kind of testimony is it for Yah just to tell the woman, go and sin no more, if she go back to heal her, to forgive her her sin, but then she goes back and continue here? See, the blood of Yeshua is powerful enough to not only heal us, but it's also powerful enough to impute his righteousness into our life, to cause us to turn around from living a type of life, not only with sexual sins, which can bring health problems too, but also with our eating, our smoking, our drinking, where we can get off the medications. But if you're not going to do it, I'm telling you, the medications, you need to stick with the medications, because Yah might have to get you to a certain place in your life that your faith get there, and the medications can sustain you until you get to that place in your life where you can do that. Case in point, I'm not sure, but I do believe her name was Vanity Six, Denise Richards. She was a born again Christian. I remember listening to some of her interviews back in the 90s and the 2000s, where she had in her life, while she was touring with Prince and she was living the kind of life she was leading, that when she did finally, when Yah saved her and she was born again or whatever, it had done great damage to her kidneys, and she was struggling back and forth with it for a long time, and for a long period of time Yah was sustaining her, but she had to get dialysis. She had to, of course, take the medications and all that stuff like that. And they told her, they said, you're going to need a kidney transplant. And she said, I'm believing Yah that he going to heal me. And I'm not going to take somebody else's kidney because Yah going to perform a miracle. Well, Yah bless her. But eventually it caught up with her, but she stuck to her guns though. She didn't get the transplant. And it took her on out. Well, whether she should have got the transplant, I don't know. But it was still a miracle that she lived as long as she did without getting a transplant, and that Yah was still able to do some things through her. But what are you saying in that case right there to a woman who, I believe, Yah, her life after Prince was such a great testimony to me to see how he brought her out of that kind of lifestyle, and how she said, you know what, I guess this might be just the thing that I need to bear, and maybe also that kept her prayerful. Maybe she knew that she didn't need to. So it could be some of you like that that's on medication too. That could be the case for some of you that you can't get off of the medication because Yah, might need you to be in some of a state where you gotta have something on the side where he know that your vessel is not your strength. He is your strength. Like Paul. Paul had an impediment, but he probably healed so many people he probably couldn't put a count on it. But it wasn't like he didn't pray, but that's when he got the message from Yah that I got this thorn in your side. And indeed, you can remember him telling Timothy, who seemed to have had some kind of nervous condition where he must have, kind of been nervous to stand before people and speak, that Paul told him, take a little wine for your stomach's sake. And he wasn't talking about no grapefruit juice. He was talking about real wine. But he was telling him to take a little bit of it to calm his stomach down. It probably wasn't like a wine like what we would consider one way. It probably was mixed with something to calm and soothe his stomach down. But he said to do that. So was it a time that Timothy was able to overcome that nervous stomach or whatever and, get to his place where he needed to be? And in that case, because every case is not the same, I'm trying to be understanding to know that everybody is not sick because and can't get healed because of their diet. But there is a lot of people in the camps, in the assemblies, in the churches that are that way because their diet is poor, and there's some that's in there where Yah is going to leave that in their flesh to keep them praying. Right? Okay. Then, your faith. Some people's faith is not where it needs to be at, not because of anything that they have done, but their faith got to build up to where it needs. The Bible talks about adding to your faith. Notice here what Matthew 9:27 says. It said, and when Yeshua departed thence, two blind men followed him, crying and saying, thou son of David, have mercy on us. And when he was coming to the house, the blind men came to him, and Yeshua saith unto them, believe ye that I am able to do this? They said unto him, yea, master. Then touched he their eyes, saying, according to your faith be it unto you. And their eyes were opened, and Yeshua straightly charged them, saying, see that no man know it. So their faith at that time was where it needed to be for them to get healed. But I'm sure it was other people that might not been so. But for the most part, it seemed like everyone that he prayed for was healed, but then we know that when he got to his hometown, he wasn't able to heal a lot of people because they knew who he was and they doubted in themselves that he was indeed the Messiah. And so they couldn't add anything on to themselves because of growing up with him. See, we got to add to and get ourselves to a certain place. And so that's why I'm encouraging you that one might be the ones that need to get your diet straight, that I'm not discouraging you from going up to be prayed for, but you need to ask Yah to increase your faith in being able to get your diet straight and go, yes, ask, pray for your healing, definitely. And if someone wants to pray for you, yes, do that. But you to get yourself to that position that one day when you do go, and your faith has got to the place where it has to be, that you can be healed, and you look back and say, you know what, that healing that happened to me today couldn't have happened 10 years ago, because I wasn't there where I needed to be at, first of all, with, my obedience. But then second of all, that I wasn't at that juncture also where Yah could get the glory out of the healing too. Because in all this, he said in book of 1 Corinthians, I got to read, and he said to profit that withal for the spirit. It's for the profit of the spirit that is going to be done, not for your profit, not to magnify you. That's why if this thing can be done to give glory, the best glory you could get if you wanted that would be to go into a hospital, if you knew you had to get the healing, to go in there and lay hands on everybody, and then you would be world famous. But that's not the case. Most of the time, you see these people that get on TV that say they got to get the healing. Some of it is fake. Some of it is ginned up adrenaline in the people that they get going, and a lot of it unconfirmed. And this is the kind of madness that's running rampant in Africa that people is calling revival. Got people drinking gasoline and doing all kinds of other things, taking their canes and throwing them down and all these kind of things, paying people to come in and pretend to get healed and all this kind of stuff. I'm telling you, if you don't mean to do right, don't be messing around with people that's on medication and stuff and telling them to come in. You got to give them the straight word, like James said. If they ain't right, you need to let them know that before they get prayed for, they got sin in their life, they need to get it straight. James 5:13 says this: is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. Is any merry? Let him sing psalms. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the assembly, and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the master. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the master shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. And one of the keys there is sin. That more than just the healing, that your sins may be forgiven you, and that you will stop living or doing whatever wickedness that you're doing in your life, so that you can be healed. But again, it goes back to what I said, that's not every situation. Some people might not be in sin. So another key is knowing which one of those that you're in. Are you in sin? Are you still living a sinful lifestyle, but you're coming in trying to get healing? Is it that Yah wants to keep that impediment in your life to keep you praying because He know that you can be taken back away? Or is it a case of where you got to build your faith up to a certain point where Yah said, now your faith is where it needs to be, like the two blind men in the book of Matthew, and now because of your faith being where it needs to be, I can heal you. Now people say, well, Yah can heal you whether you got faith or not. Yes, that's true, but if that's the case, then that doesn't mean that He can save you even if you don't have faith. No, he said without faith it is impossible to please Yah. He said, he that cometh to Yah must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those that diligently seek Him. So if you want healing and you diligently seeking Him, that means you diligently seeking Him, that if you got sin in your life that might be keeping you, might not be, but you seeking Him and saying, Yah, show me if it's something that, show me which one is it. Is it the one where my faith is not where it needs to be and needs to increase? Is it because of my lifestyle, my habits and everything is not? Or is it because you're keeping a thorn in my side? Paul asked that 3 times and Yah gave him the answer on the 3rd time. He said, Paul, I got a messenger of Satan, a thorn in your side, least the multiplicity of visions and everything. If I heal you, then you're going to be overcome with grandiose ideas, because I know your inner workings. So I'm going to keep you where you need to be at by keeping whatever that sickness is in you. But my grace is going to be like a soothing salve on you that's going to keep you. Our people, as we are coming out around the world, we have developed a lot of bad habits, a lot of bad things, a lot of bad things in our quote-unquote culture, in the places that Yah has scattered us, that we need to ask Him to take away from us. Our diet here in America as Americans, you can see it when other ones of us come from Africa and come from the Caribbean, and they come into this country and they start getting on the same diet that we've been on here, and how they start getting some of the sicknesses and illnesses and getting overweight and everything like that, because this is Babylon. Notice what Daniel and the other 3 Hebrew teenagers said when they got into Babylon. They said had to determine that they would not defile themselves with the diet of the Babylonians. He said, don't let us have to eat the same thing. He told, I think his name was Mazar, the head of the Enochs. He said, don't let us eat the same diet that they're eating. And I tell you, we're going to be healthier than the other children that are amongst, and they was. He said their continence and their intelligence and everything was strong, because what Daniel and his fellows determined in themselves that they would not defile themselves. And I'm here to tell you, we are defiling, even sometimes amongst our knowledge, even us that's trying to eat healthy are defiling ourselves to a certain extent, because Babylon is determined in itself that it wants to defile everybody. And I'm going to do a lesson talking about some of the foods and stuff in the food industry, and talking about us and our body parts and our body fluids and everything that's going to kind of bring out, some of why we have some of the sicknesses that we have, on top of just trying to get away from that filthiness that they give us, but just even trying to eat the ordinary things, what they have done to the food chain, which is one reason why Yah has to come back. We are as in the days of Noah, when all flesh was corrupted on a genetic level, on a subatomic level. These people have got to what they call the God particle. So they have got to subatomic levels that they're trying to defile the creation of Yah. And they have engineered this thing. This is stuff that they learned going back before the flood, and they carried when they got to the Tower of Babel, and they have carried it forth, and they slowly branched it out, and they got hold to the people of Yah. And when they got us into captivity, notice that the medical industry in America got started with them experimenting on us as their human guinea pigs. So they know what makes us tick. They cut us open sometimes back in the experiments they did in New York State with some of those doctors where the slaves was given no anesthesia while they experimented on them. So they know what the inside of us, how to mess it up. That's why we must understand. But Yah, as I said, if your faith is not where it needs to be, I would not totally, like I said, trash everything until you get your faith to where it needs to be and Yah can hear. But that also depends on what it is that you're taking. What is it that you are taking? Because you don't want to do stuff cold turkey, but you gotta, if you determine that you're gonna come off of the Babylon, you gotta really invest your time, energy, and money into it, and prayer, and talking with different people and whatnot, in order to get yourself off of the medication. But until then, I believe that Yah can sometimes use the medication to heal you, at least until you can get to where you need to be. And I'm saying this because, like I said, I know a lot of people, when I was in the church, that was on medication, and I seen people getting in lines to be healed. Sometimes they would say I was healed, and after the evangelist or the prophet or whoever had gone, a couple weeks later, you would still hear about them taking the medication. I was like, why did you get up there and lie on? Well, they wasn't lying on, quote unquote, God, as we said back then. They really thought in themselves that they was. And, you know, it's just so much stuff going on. You got to be careful. Now, I would say about these vaccines and stuff that they have, that they're using, which we're going to talk about this in another lesson when they talk about aborted fetuses and all that stuff. You know, I'll just say this. When I came to get more understanding about all this stuff going on with, you know, the vaccines, and I should have found that out when I was in the military, all the different shots I got, and they told me I couldn't give blood for 7 years and all that stuff. But besides that point, and when they had the H1N1 flu back there in, I think it was 2011, I can't remember. I think it might have been there. I remember I got sick with the flu, and I was out of work for about a week. So I got the doctor, he wrote me out. And so when I went back to him to get clear to go back, he said, well, you need to take H1N1 shot. I said, well, I need to take that. I already had the flu. You're supposed to be inoculated once you get it. He said, well, take it anyway. And I was like, nah, I ain't. I took the shot, and I got sick again. So I said to myself, this is the last time. I'm not going to take no more flu shots. I'm done. I didn't. And then what happened was I got me and my wife went on a cruise, and I ended up getting a staph infection where they had to put me on this serious antibiotic. It was about $1,000 a bottle, and, you know, to kill it. And so it ended up tearing my insides up. I ended up having to get operation and all this other kind of stuff. I suffered with that stuff for about a year. And so they told me, you know, in the future you got to watch out for any of them trying to rise up again. So what I did, I went to this health food store, and I started talking to a guy, you know, that owned it. He's dead now. But what he told me about colloidal silver, and he told me about the parts per million and all that. And he said, this is what you need to do. You need to get a spray bottle. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I experimented with it, and I was like, boom, man, this is what I'm going to do. He said, one thing, he said, you got to maintain it in your system. You can't just, start using it when when you get it. You got to build your strength up. And I'm going to tell you, I've taken that stuff, man. In the summertime, I don't normally take it unless I get allergies, because I noticed one of the things once I start taking it, I start having those allergies that I used to have in the springtime. I used to hate it, but I start taking that, and man, you have to be careful because it is real strong. It will kill some of your gut the bacteria in your gut. You don't want to get it to kill all of it, because you need that bacteria to break down your food, but it will. In the wintertime, that's when I take it a lot, so I don't have to take those flu shots and all that stuff, so that it kills. And now with the winters not being as cold as they need to be, you definitely need to get something like that and try that. And then what you can do is ask Yah, okay, now I got substitute for such and such, build my system up. I can start weaning myself off of these vaccines. I can start weaning myself off of some of these over-the-counter prescriptions. I can start weaning myself off of these according to my faith, and y'all can heal you gradually, maybe not instantaneously, where you ain't got people coming to you to the hospital because you got some kind of flu that's about to kill you. You can maintain your life where you are well and you're not spending so much money on the health industry. See, there's different ways that Yah can heal us. But there again, remember, sometimes Yah does have sickness in certain people's life because of the ministry that they have, that he does things through them. Like for instance, I'm going to give you an example because I've been talking about it. I'm going to give you an example. Go to 2 Kings 13 and 14. This is talking about Elisha. He said, now Elisha was fallen sick of his sickness whereof he died. And Joash the king of Yasharal came down unto him and wept over his face and said, oh, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. Now notice, Elisha, he had asked Elijah, he said, I want to do twice the miracles that you did. So you think that he could not ask Yah to heal him? And I'm pretty sure he might have, but Yah, apparently he had some kind of sickness. It doesn't say what it was, but to me, it was just like Paul. This man was so anointed by Yah that he said, I got to keep a sickness in him. I got to keep a sickness in him because it's something about him that if I don't, you can kind of see at the beginning of his ministry after Elisha threw his mantle on him. When the chariots was carrying Elisha up into the whirlwind. What did Elisha do? He took the mantle of Elijah and he said he popped the waters with it and said, where is the Elohim Yah of Elisha? Where is Elijah? Where he at? Pow! He was trying. He split the waters. So he was kind of brash. He was kind of, could kind of be I don't want to say a loose cannon, but y'all had to, I believe, allow that to be upon him in order to keep him grounded. And he ended up down, but even in his death, he didn't get all the miracles that he wanted while he was alive, but he did get all the miracles that he asked for, even though he wasn't alive to see the last miracle, which was when they laid dead man body on the top of his body, the man came alive. So he had power in his body, but he didn't have enough power. The power was not directed for him to be healed, but it could be directed for someone else to be healed, which goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. It's for the profit of the spirit. It's for the profit of the spirit, for his profit, that the healing is anyway, no matter whether you get it instantaneously or gradually. You can still say, Yah healed me, whether it was an instantaneous healing or whether it was a gradual healing. You can say with a surety that Yah healed me. That's right. You can say it with a surety, because he said that by his stripes we are healed. And unless you one of those, like I said, that he definitely tell you that I'm not going to heal that particular sickness, he can still keep you alive. He can still keep you alive, and that's a miracle in itself. Whatever it was that Elijah had, and even Paul. Paul, if he hadn't got his head chopped off by Nero, he would have still been living with that sickness. And, you know, there's some people that are the healthiest, fittest, whatever, but, you know, they might come into a car accident or, you know, get shot errantly or whatever. You know, they having all these mass shootings, and I'm sure there's people that be walking around in the malls and the schools and the places where these happen. Look at all these high schools and schools where these shootings happen. These are young people that got all their life ahead of them, but when that bullet hit them, they gone. They might be the best, healthy, whatever. But Paul, if he hadn't got his head chopped off by Nero, yeah, you know, but he said it was time for him to go. He knew it was time for him to go. And indeed, he said the course that he said had been finished and that he was ready to be taken. And then just some more scriptures I had. Okay, like John 9, chapter verse 1 through 7, where the man was born without the eyes in his socket, you know, in his sockets, and Yeshua took the clay and formed the eyes with the clay and put them in the man's sockets and told him to go wash himself in the pool of Siloam, meaning sent. And the miracle was that he, you know, he was able to find his way to the pool and get there, and he said, wash and you'll be seeing. But notice what he said about him. He said it wasn't because of any sin, that nothing that he did, that he had that upon him. He said it was a specific him being born that way was specific because of Yah, just for that moment. Meaning he was born without the eyes in his sockets, just for the day that Yeshua was going to show up and give him that pair of eyes. So some of that could be some of you that might be born with certain impediments or whatever, that in these days where I believe Yah is, you know, he's been poured out his spirit since the day of Pentecost. There is no doubt. But I believe because of the manipulation of all the stuff that's going out in the world with the fake healing and all these things, that it is deadening the faith of what Seymour and all those back then at that time really wanted. That and if you see, most of them was back there praying to be filled, you know, with the Spirit, so they could live a righteous life. But that the false prophets crept in to form their own denominations and to get money through fake healing, which has been the hallmark of the quote-unquote, the speaking in fake tongues and the fake healings have been the hallmark of the quote-unquote Pentecostal movement, and is one of the biggest draws and the biggest turnoffs of it. And in fact, like I said, that it take in so many that don't have a concept of a healthy lifestyle being the way that Yah wants you to be healed more than anything, by you being your own healer, by what you eat, by what he's saying the trees will be meat for you. Not saying total vegan lifestyle, but that, and include myself, that we would put more vegetables. But now with the enemy coming in and even messing that up, that we got to pray for y'all to come back, because the enemy is trying to cut off all avenues of us trying to purify our temple. So can y'all heal through medication? I'll say to those that don't have the faith that they need temporarily, if you're not there, I'm going to tell you to, I would tell you to keep taking the medication. According to your faith, be it unto you. And primarily this has to do with those that have like internal sicknesses. My bad heart, kidneys, things like that. Now, if you got a broken leg or a short leg, if somebody's going to perform a miracle, there ain't going to be no need for you to be on and off on medicine. That's like an injury. Or if you got, like I said, some vision problems, you'll be able to tell instantaneously if somebody pray for your eyes and your eyes. But this is the thing. I haven't seen that. And people gotta be honest with themselves, and you come back and maybe say, hey, you prayed for me or whatever, and my vision might have cleared up for a little bit, but it's gone back to the way it was. And this is where the part of ministering one-on-one daily to people is more, Yah is more concerned with that than all these big crusades where you praying for 10,000 people, whatever, and then you going off about your business and they going back to their village or going back to their apartment or whatever with the same sickness and same illness. Faith has been shattered or whatever, and then someone else has got to come up and try to pick up the pieces. He wants one-on-one relationships where I might be able to say, brother, you sister, who are you doing this? This might be why you having those issues. And then also dealing with those that have autism and other things like that, where this is who they are. There's not really a chance that that's gonna be changed, and not giving them false hope. But if you're in a meeting, you tell them you're gonna be healed, and you crush their faith, that would be better handled one-on-one with somebody saying, what is it that you asking Yah to heal you? Or, well, I got autism. Well, brother or sister, you understand that the brain pattern set of a person with autism is probably not going to be changed. That's like set in stone. But Yah can help you overcome, like with Paul, and make it as if the autism, you can leap over a little bit, and that can happen. So we got to approach every situation on a one-on-one basis. Because if a person does come to me and say, I think my faith is where it need to be, I want somebody to touch and agree, I would certainly touch and agree with you that you would be healed. But I've never been the one to say, you're healed. Or I've never been the one to pray for somebody and say, you're saved. They have to make that confession with their own mouth. And I've seen too much of that when I was in the Christian church where somebody said, they're healed, they're healed, they're healed. And then you come back to church that next week and the following week or whatever, and you still see them taking the medicine and say, I'm holding on to my healing. I'm holding on to my healing. And I'm like, healed. So, that's just be careful with that in this time and day that we're living in. I hope that you got something out of this lesson. Before I get off this video, I wanted to say what I always forget to say. If you like this video, hit the like. If you dislike this video, hit that too if you don't. Add a comment, subscribe, and share it, and hit the notification bell. I was in several family reunions the last month or so. That's why I haven't been able to pick up on the videos amount that I wanted to. But again, that young man that I met while I was in Charlotte, pray that you're okay in your travels around the country, and anyone else that watches this video. I hope that you eventually find you a local assembly that you can fellowship. We seeking the Most High Yah in deciding whether we going to start we got our Bible lesson here in our home, but they do have a meeting room at a local library in the town that we're living in, and it seems to be available maybe on a Sabbath. And we seeking the Most High Yah, and we're gonna seek Him, and maybe start doing our lessons out of that on the Sabbath morning. Not for long, probably about an hour or whatever. And so until then, I want you to continue to pray for contending for the faith, and also Gate Ministries, which is what it comes up underneath that, and that stands for Gospel Around the Earth Ministries, because we are all around the earth, our people, and it's our time to come out. Yah is getting ready to do things. I believe that when He starts waking our people up, you're going to see the multiplicity of the diversities of the gifts actually operating the way they're supposed to, outside of the four walls of the camps, the assemblies, and the churches, where people can be healed and one-on-one increasing our faith. So until then, I ask you to, like I said, like, share, subscribe, and add a comment. Be blessed.